This meeting of the Oak Park City Council is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Deputy City Clerk Sherilyn Brown, please call the roll.
Mayor McClellan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine.
Here.
Councilmember Seligson.
Here.
Burns.
Here.
Speech.
Here.
We have a quorum. I need a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I would like to
Yes?
remove one item from the, excuse me, this is the agenda.
Okay.
I'm thinking consent
Approval of the
agenda.
agenda. All in
Okay, the
favor
agenda?
of
Yeah.
approving the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Agenda's approved.
Okay.
Consent agenda. Is there an item you would like removed from the consent agenda? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I would like to remove the council meeting minutes from July 20th. I have a correction to make.
Absolutely. So on the, there's certain items that are presented for city council approval without discussion as a single item. And the items remaining are 5B, a zoning board of appeals minutes of April 28th, 2015. Item C, retirement board minutes of April 27th, 2015. D, request to advertise for bids for the 2015 sewer and catch basin cleaning and televising project. And E, licenses, new and renewals. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Support.
And support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And now we have item A on the consent agenda. And Mayor Pro Tem, you had a correction.
Ray, I just wanted to correct on page 6 of the minutes, when we took the vote on the waiver of fees for Camp Casey and the beer tent, I voted no.
Okay.
Very much opposed to not collecting anything to offset our costs.
Thank you. Had that been noted by our?
Yes, it has.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion to approve the regular council meeting minutes of July 20th as amended.
Actually, I have another,
Yes.
I'm looking for it now. I thought
Council
you were
member
gonna mention
speech.
it. There is a vote, I'm looking for it now, I took a vote, but I actually wasn't in the meeting.
You took a vote, but you weren't in the meeting?
Right, I was absent that day.
May have you voting?
Oh, you're listed as voting.
Yeah, I'm listed as voted, I'm sorry.
Roll call vote on page 11.
Page 11.
Yeah.
So I'd like that change.
Mm.
It says roll call vote, Burns, Levine, Seligson, and speech.
Right.
I was absent.
Hard to vote when you're not there.
Right.
Got it. All right. Motion to approve these minutes as amended.
So moved.
Support.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, any opposed? Motion carried. Recognition of visiting elected officials. Do we have anybody in the audience? No. We don't have a special recognition. We do have a public hearing. And I think we're going to call CJ Felton from Community Housing Network. This is for a public hearing regarding an ordinance to provide a service charge in lieu of taxes, a pilot program for a housing development known as Jefferson Oaks. Good evening.
Pam, city council members, and elected officials.
There we go.
My name is CJ Felton. I'm a director of resource development, communications at Community Housing Network. Before I give a few short comments on what we're requesting of the council tonight, I'd like to introduce the members of our development team that are with us here tonight. We have our president, Mark Craig, president of Community Housing Network, our vice president of development, Kirsten Elliott, Richard Rassel, who is our legal counsel, Al Martin in the back is our development consultant, and Brooke Ellis, our architect from Fusco, Schaefer, and Pappas. The agenda item that we're here to discuss tonight is a request for a pilot for the proposed Jefferson Oaks development. Pilot, or a payment in lieu of taxes, it's a development tool that enables us as a developer to obtain some tax certainty for the development in exchange for an agreed upon amount paid to the city for property taxes. What we tried to do is, this can be complicated, and I know that there were some documents up on the website from when we first proposed this, so we'd like to kind of present it in layman's terms for both council and for the members of the public that are here. On Jefferson Oaks, what we have proposed is a tax payment equal to 10% of the net collected rent from the tenants in the development for a period of 18 years, beginning with the tax year ending December 31st, 2017, which is the year that we anticipate that the development will go into full service. Under this agreement, we'll pay an estimated $41,467,000 in property taxes in the first year of the development, with the city receiving an estimated $19,506 after all of the non-city millage items such as school operating, DIA, and so forth are deducted. That amount is scheduled to increase by 1% a year for the next 5 years, and in the final 12 years by 2% a year. So what's really important is if you look at how this would be affected if the pilot was not in place and the development just paid taxes based on a state equalized value or SEV. We did an analysis of 4 rental developments in the city that have the highest per unit SEV in 2014. And those developments were, excuse me just a second, the Oaks on Lincoln, Village Green Townhomes, Lincoln Woods, and Lincoln Tower Apartments. The average property tax bill for 60 units at those developments would be $58,001 per year, with the city portion then equating to $27,283. What that means is that the difference in the first year between what Jefferson Oaks is proposing to pay on the pilot and what we think the development might pay based on an approximate state equalized value is just a little under $8,000, $7,777 in the first year. The differential in future years is a little bit hard to calculate because that does depend on what property value increases might be. And also, as we found out a few years ago, it is actually possible for property values to decrease, which nobody actually thought that could happen. If that were the case, the pilot still goes forward with projected increases in rent, and you've got some tax certainty as well. So in some respects, there's a little bit of a trade there. But still, I would say $8,000 is a lot of money, especially as you and many other cities are still trying to recover your tax base. I think if you look at what the development might bring to the city in terms of other things, it's very equitable. Using industry accepted standard calculations, the estimated annual recurring benefit of the Jefferson Oaks development is 18 full-time jobs and $1.44 million in local income. So simply stated, Jefferson Oaks is a really good investment for the city of Oak Park. And we can take any questions that you have.
This would be the time for public meetings, right? A public hearing?
Madam Mayor, if I could.
Yes.
One of the things that we promised at the last council meeting was that we would hold a public hearing in lieu of a final vote. So I believe at this point it's probably
Time to open the public hearing.
time to open the public hearing, and then if you'd want to ask questions.
Did you have an announcement?
I do, but can I save it for just a few minutes?
Oh, absolutely. Secret announcement coming soon.
Mayor?
Okay, Mayor,
Mayor,
Councilmember
I just want to make this
Sullivan.
very clear that the public hearing is about the pilot. It is not about the fact that somebody may or may not like what the Ferndale Schools did with that property. It is not our property. It is clearly just about the pilot. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And if you would, we do have some comments at the
If
end.
people have questions, I would love you to be available
Okay.
to answer them.
Thank you very much.
So sit close. We will now open a public hearing on this issue, second reading and adoption of an ordinance to provide for service charge in lieu of taxes, pilot for housing development known as Jefferson Oaks. Please feel free to voice your concerns. I think city council had all the same concerns that you had. And when we got the facts and learned more, our concerns were much less, and we are thinking much more positively about this. Please don't be intimidated. Feel free to come up and voice your concerns, and we will answer your questions.
3 minutes. We'd like to-
Joyce Bannon,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
As you come up, please give your name and address.
10611 Troy Oak Park. As far as Jefferson goes, I know the school system sold it. Hurts me very much. I went to grade school there, so I've known that school for 70 years. So it hurts.
It's a loss
It
to the
hurts.
community. It's a
It hurts.
loss, yes.
But beyond that, okay, I was in property management for 10 years. Now you're considering 10% of the rent that comes in. Houses in Oak Park are going for renting for $800 to $1,000 a month. If they don't fill these units, you're not going to get 10% of nothing. And their rents, from what I understand, are going to be over $1,000 for low or moderate income homes. So that's my concern about the Jefferson Oaks.
Your concern is the level of the rent?
Well, in lieu of property tax, yes, because that's what it was proposed, 10% of the income or property tax. Am I misunderstanding that?
Mr. Felton, can you come to the front and answer this one? Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Bannon.
Okay.
Yes, our proposal is 10% of net collected rents, and we have estimated, we've established our first-year estimate using a 93% occupancy rate, so 7% vacancy, which we think is actually pretty conservative. In the other developments that we have done using the tax credit program, we've had as many as 600 qualified applicants want to live there. This is very high-quality housing. Should be noted, too, that those rent figures, those are maximum rents, using what the state sets today as the maximum rent for those units. So it could very well be less. And that's 2 years from now, and so it's a little hard to project. I imagine that the maximums will rise.
Was your question answered?
Well, yes and no. Being as, yes, if you collect the rent. Being in management for 10 years, I know if you don't collect rent, it takes 3 months to get anybody out. Meanwhile, 3 months, there's no rent. Okay, and if you've got 4 units with no rent coming in, that makes the difference. So I know you're talking, you might fill it, you might have all these applicants, but are they gonna pay rent?
Good question. And our answer?
We ourselves have done property management for 14 years, and we've put a figure in for occupancy that we're very comfortable with. And that's what's used to determine the figure that we've given the city.
May I?
Please.
Mr. Felton, would you be willing to stipulate to the numbers you've put in your graph here at the end of this as an attachment,
As to,
as to guaranteed payments?
I'm gonna,
Can you go further on that with the diminishing quality of it?
You need to be recognized by the chair, please.
So what I mean is the payments that you have listed in terms of, and I think, like you say, you're taking a 93% occupancy rate. Would you be willing to stipulate, meaning agree to these amounts on a go-forward basis for the next 18 years as a guaranteed payment to the city? Non-fluctuating?
gonna defer to our development consultant. This is Al Martin.
Hi. Yes, we could, but you'd be then limiting the upside potential as well as eliminating the risk that it would go down. But if the city is more comfortable with a set schedule for 18 years, we could definitely live with that.
City Manager Tungate.
How about if we establish that the numbers you've provided here are the floor, and that they're never to go below these?
I don't have a good answer. I mean, we could, everything's negotiable. We'd have to figure out some kind of a cumulative. Yeah, I don't see why not.
You comfortable with that?
People who came have questions about the development, concerns, please come to the mic, give us your name and address. And for everyone who is here with a question, there's probably 20 people at home with the same question, so come on up.
Hi, my name's Ken Ebaugh, 1586 West Troy. I did have a question about the mathematics that you used earlier when you were saying after 12 years, or you had a 2% quality that was diminishing as the years went on. To what level does it sit? And at what time, can you come up and do the math on that again? Because it sounded like as you progressed yearly, you're paying less into the pilot. Okay.
No, that, if it sounded that way, that was not what was intended. After year one, so in year 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, there's a 1% increase in rent. So that the pilot payment actually increases based on the projected rents. Beginning in year 7 through year 18, it's a 2% increase per year. And so it's actually going, the pilot payment is increasing during that time.
And you're always at 10%?
It's always at 10%, but the rents are increasing. Right. Does that answer your question? Okay, thanks.
Okay. Council member Speech has a question, comment.
A comment, yes. I just wanted to, for the audience's sake, and, you and the developer had quite a good conversation there, and wanted to know if you could explain for the audience and the residents what you were trying to negotiate for our city. It was a very quick conversation,
Sure.
so.
May I, Madam Mayor?
City Manager Tungate.
Thank you, Councilmember's speech. What I was saying that as part of the exhibit to our, I don't know if we can see this here, to the council resolution, which would be establishing the pilot, what I was saying is that we would establish these revenue numbers for the next 18 years with a 1% increase in rents for the years 1 through 6 and a 2% increase years 7 through 18, that we would establish those revenue numbers through the pilot to the city as the baseline, as the floor, meaning we would not be paid any less than the amounts listed here. But I also wanted to make clear that when I said that, I meant that the ceiling would be open, meaning if rents increased faster than these 1 or 2% claims, then we would see the upside of that as well.
Or a higher occupancy rate.
Or a higher occupancy
Resulting in
rate.
higher net rents.
Exactly.
Thank you, City Manager. I knew what you were saying, but I think it's very important for the residents to understand that, we certainly value your opinions. We've looked at it, and this is just an example of how we're trying to make sure that, it works together. And, obviously the company is listening and trying to negotiate because they want to be in Oak Park as well.
Oh, please come up to the microphone and give us your name and address. Thank you for coming.
Rebecca Paget, 1557 West Troy. Mr. Feldman, you stated earlier that once the development is completed, that the state of Michigan will set the rental rates. Is that correct? I thought that I heard that you said that they would set the rate, and if that's the case, is the state ever lowering the rents? How can we be sure that the rent will always increase?
Well, to answer your question, those are maximum rents that are set by the state. Okay, so that's the maximum in a tax credit project that we could charge for each unit, 1 bedroom through 4 bedroom, which we'll have in this development. It is anticipated that rents will go up as income incomes are increasing in Oakland County. And those are based on Oakland County numbers. However, there's no certainty in that. And we know what happened in the middle of the last decade, and those could go down.
Right.
They could.
That's my fear. My other question, if you don't mind, you stated that CHN has been in the rental business or property management business for 14 years. Which properties do you own or have developed? And can you give us those numbers from that first original development and how those programs are going?
I can't give you specific numbers going back historically over time. An awful lot of the property management that we do is on group homes for people with disabilities, where we don't, in a lot of cases, actually own the property, but we've been contracted with to provide professional property management and lease management in many cases. And we do about 3,000 units of that type of housing across Southeast Michigan.
Do you have a sample of something like the Jefferson Oaks development that you're thinking about
Yes.
doing? that you
Allow
can
us
give
to
numbers?
call Economic Development Manager Maroney up. I think she's got some pictures of another development that these people have been managing for a number of years. Can you speak to that?
Yes, one of our concerns too was over time how this property would be managed. So we looked at their management group that they're hiring to do this project, which is Piper Management. They've been in existence since the early 1900s and do many properties in the state. I visited a property that they manage for them, or for a different owner actually, in Mount Morris. And this one has been there for 15 years now. So this will give you an example of what it looks like 15 years from the date that it opened. I talked to the property manager, who is a district property manager on site, and he manages 4 other properties for this particular management group. And they have very strict standards, and they make sure that all of the residents understand what their standards are from day one. And if there's any issues, they do act upon it very quickly and do evictions if necessary. Because of that, they don't have issues in their communities. So they do run a very tight ship, is what they pretty much said. They have a very high occupancy rate because people want to live in this community, so they can set their standards high for the residents that live there.
Where is it located?
It's in Mount Morris.
Where is that?
That is a suburb of Flint.
And are these pictures indicative of what the Jefferson property would look like, both inside and out?
There is an elevation of the exterior of what it will look like on the outside, up on the board there. And the interior, I'd assume it's at least the same, or if not better quality, to be honest with you. Better quality. Yeah, yep. I was very impressed by their management team out there, and then also the condition of the property.
So we need you to speak into the microphone, otherwise the people at home can't hear you.
Management does not remove anybody from eviction. It has to go through the courts and it has to be done by a bailiff.
Okay.
Okay, management cannot do that. That I know.
Just real quick, with a mandated, is it a 1%, 2% increase?
Excuse me, did we get your name
Ken.
and address?
1586 West Troy.
West Troy. Mhm.
I would fear that the city of Oak Park would get whitewashed as far as the rents that are going to be established for the area, because if yours is only increasing by 1% to 2% per year and it's going to be mandated by the state, then all others are going to have to follow that lead with a set bar established by your development. So I think that's a fearful tactic to go across as a society and to have that available for the rest of the residents who are looking for that to be a retirement income, that to be a house that they can sell in the future, something they can establish as a rent base to gain income if they are looking to move out. To establish a bar that's going to be set by your development, I don't think that's fair to the surrounding community.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Remember, anything you're thinking, somebody at home is thinking too, so.
Good evening, all. My name is Peter Cooper, 8535 Leroy. I live directly across the street from Jefferson School, and as of October, will have been there for 25 years. First, I want to state that I am not opposed to this type of housing. I've worked in case management for many years, and I absolutely recognize that this type of housing is essential and needed. My only concern is the placement in this particular case. The land that we're referring to is in essence used as park space for the community. Any other school in the neighborhood, in Oak Park or in Ferndale, the land immediately around the school is used as a park. The main difference is, for whatever reason, in the decades that this land has been here, it lacks a sign and a name, as all other parks in the area apparently do. But functionally, this is still what the land is used for. It's used for a variety of recreational purposes, from volleyball to baseball practice to tobogganing in the winter and any other recreational activities that children and families want to participate in. It's perfect land for this use. It has been for as many years as I've been there, and probably for many years after, and hopefully for many years more. Consider yourselves in our position, those of you who perhaps live near or across from a park space that has been used for years and is otherwise undeveloped, and having a building company, even for a worthy purpose as this, but still having a building company coming in and saying that we want to rip up this land and put houses here. Imagine how you would feel if this were happening to the park that's across the street from you. This is how the residents in the area feel about this. It's not that the housing isn't necessary, but there's certainly a lot of other undeveloped land in the city of Oak Park that could just as easily be used for this purpose, that we would still get the revenue from, just not taking pristine parkland away from us. I also want to point out that in the area, there is no other park space available for area children to go to unless they cross a busy intersection to get there. There's no other park in Oak Park in this particular area. You would either have to cross 9 Mile Road, or you would have to cross Wyoming and walk several more blocks in order to get to any other available park space for families or for children trying to cross the street alone. So these are my major concerns. Again, I fully endorse what the purpose of the project is. I'm just concerned about the placement of it, if there is other space in Oak Park where it could be put. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. A lot of people have strong feelings about the school and the use of the property as well. Give us your name and address. We're limiting to 3-minute comments.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and honorable council members. My name is Elizabeth Ann Fritz-Cottle. I live at 8688 Woodside Drive, and I am here today to voice my support for the proposed Jefferson Oaks pilot program and tax abatement housing development. I have been an Oak Park resident for approximately 2 years. I am a licensed master's of social work and a nonprofit professional with over 15 years of experience serving individuals with developmental disabilities in Oakland County, and also working with partners to establish sustainable housing while employed at Focus Hope in Detroit. I am also the former resident of an income-capped apartment community. As a young professional, my affordable rent, living in a development just as the one that is being proposed this evening, meant that I did not have to work 2 jobs. Several of my neighbors, who would probably be classified as close to the federal poverty line or living within 200% of it, were single mothers and able to raise their children in a safe, beautiful community. During the 4 years that I lived in that apartment, I paid just a little less rent than I would have in other apartment complexes, but that allowed me to save and let me earn up to about 200% of my qualifying income when I first signed the lease. So that allowed me to save money. As a benefit to me, I also met my next door neighbor who turned out to be my husband, and now we own a home here in Oak Park. I also want to talk about my experience with Community Housing Network. I can personally attest to CHN's housing and rehabilitation efforts, along with its deep commitment to the people it serves and the community. Thanks to Community Housing Network, I know of several individuals with developmental disabilities who live in really beautiful condominiums and apartments and feel secure and happy in their homes. And they now have an opportunity to live a full, independent life that they may not have otherwise had an opportunity to do so. What's also really cool is that their neighbors have come to really value what they provide to the community, and to go to those apartments and those condominiums is awesome to see how everyone has adjusted as neighbors and as a community. I also want to point out that I've done my due diligence. I looked at CHN's overhead or administrative rate based on their 990 that was filed in 2012 and reported in 2013. They have a 3.6% overhead rate. Most of the time in nonprofit, 20% is acceptable. I just want to voice my opinion and my support. Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. I too would have qualified for this development, and it would have been a godsend. Give us your name and address, and thanks for
Kevin
coming.
Bodas, 1606 West Troy. I just pulled up, I have a question. Rosewood Manor, I pulled up on what the rent's going. 1,100 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, $595 rent. 1,272 square foot, 3-bedroom townhome, 2.5 bath, $608 to $768. They set these 15 years ago, and the state of Michigan has played the game. So my concern as a citizen and as a former employee of Oak Park High School counselor is the impact or where we're setting the bar for our community that's already struggling, that we're invested in. You're creating the bar for all the housing around the area for rent, for property in general, buying the property for the people like the lady that just came up that did that and then moved into Oak Park because it was a viable solution for housing that she's investing for not only today, but 20 years from now to raise her family and all that. So I guess my question is this: what if we set the bar at $1,000, 15 to 18 years, are you prepared for the impact that it's going to have on the infrastructure, on the professionals that work and own in this area, and the other impact of what's going on? Schools are already failing. You're going to get, they claim they're going to get 50 to 80 students per year. They told Ferndale that they're getting them all because it's on the border. So what does that do for Oak Park other than $21,000 a year? And at what cost for the property around the homeowners that have already invested, that continue to invest and believe in what you guys are establishing? That's something to think about.
Thank you. Can someone speak to that? A lot of people share that concern.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Elliott. I'm the Vice President of Development for Community Housing Network. And the rents that are at Rosewood Manor, that's a completely different market. And so when CJ...
sorry.
So
there is no calling out in the audience.
So when we're... when we say MSHDA sets the maximum rents for the housing tax credit program, that is the maximum rent. Generally, but we can only really charge what the market will bear. So I can tell you 9 times out of 10, there is no certainty, as we all know, within real estate, as we've seen in the last decade, that we can't count on everything. But we know that the tax credit rents are higher than what the market actually bears. So we really very rarely can ever charge what that highest rent is, but we are saying for the pilot that we'll enter into a floor based upon the numbers that we given. So we know that even though we probably will not be getting the $1,100, $1,200, it's really what the market will bear. What are the rents going to be in 18 years from now? We really can't tell. We can only do estimates that will help us do projections so that we can try to make the best sound decisions that we can now. But as you know, we are willing to go and enter into an agreement to have a floor on the pilot, which will provide some certainty in case 2008 ever happens again, God forbid. So I hope that answers the question.
Okay. If you just step up, line up at the mic.
Hello, my name is Scott Baltus. I'm at 8510 Saratoga. And again, this is a similar question that I asked last time I was in front of you, and that's with 253 to 300 new residents. I asked, what are we doing about public safety? Because this is one of the furthest points in Oak Park. We very rarely see police officers by our area already. And the crime in that area, there is crime there. I mean, we've all felt it on that block, and we're still there. But now you're talking about 253 residents. You can screen as many adults as you want. But if there's 150 children there, you're not screening 153 children. If they're single-parent homes and they have to work because they have to pay your rent, who's watching these kids? We are. We're watching them do everything around that community. And it's happened, and we watch it all the time. And unfortunately, we picked an area. We have Royal Oak Township that's right down the street. It's an easy access for people to steal cars. I've had 2 stolen from my residents, and they drive it away. We find them right in Royal Oak Township. We find them right in the industrial area of Ferndale. I'm just concerned that we can't overlook that we need public safety in that area. And I support them 100%. I'm the one who caught kids breaking into the cars. You can ask my family. And I'm there for that. But I'm just gonna let you know, 8500, house next to me, it's up for sale, went up for sale today. 8520 is going up sale within the next 2 weeks. And this is the repercussions that we're already seeing because of this. Because everyone's worried about property value going down. And I can't speak for him because he's not here, but I talked to Ernie's Market, who's right there. And he, for him, this would be great for him because it's more business. And he told me it's not. It hurts the community. And he'll retire. That's what he told us. And again, I'm all for helping and this project coming through. I'm right across the street from it, so I'm gonna have to look at it daily. You guys aren't. I'm gonna have to see the back doors of houses daily. That's okay, but I'm not seeing the front of that. I'm seeing the back, because everything's gonna be inwards, okay? I'm worried about, do you have your own security? Is there security 24/7? Do you guys have someone that's gonna be patrolling the parking lot, making sure that the riffraff's not happening? I mean, because you're asking a lot for Oak Park Police to come out there and police that every night. I mean, they're busy enough, and I know that because they told me that. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. I mean, I'm concerned. I've been in my house for 22 years, and my family's been in here, I mean, for a lot longer than that. Grandparents, everybody. So like I said, I love this community. I've coached in this community. I went to school in this community, and I just don't want to take that away from my kids. Okay?
You're a valued community member, and we appreciate your activity.
Thank you.
In our community. I wonder if you could speak to property values.
First of all, we've done, and I believe we have provided it to the city, and council, you should have seen it. There's been a lot of efforts to try and determine the effect of affordable housing developments on property values. It's really difficult to isolate because of all of the other social and economic factors that go into how real estate increases and decreases in value. But what we were able to do is we found a compilation of about 30 studies, and their conclusion is that the effect of affordable housing within neighborhoods is no impact to positive impact if two very important things happen. One is the quality of the construction, and in our case, we're using O'Brien Construction as our general contractor. They've done multifamily housing all over the upper Midwest. They use the same structural materials and design work that's used on upscale multifamily housing. They're an outstanding firm to work with. The other factor that is considered very important is the quality of the property management. And I think Kim's already attested to the fact that she didn't just take our word, she went out and did her own investigation and came back feeling very comfortable that Piper Management is the kind of property management company that's going to do that. They're going to provide quality property management. So those two things are the two most important things, and we believe we're bringing them to Jefferson Oaks. Now, I would also say to anybody that challenges that thinking is, what is your reasonable basis for coming up with that conclusion? Because I don't believe that there is one.
It's not evidence-based. Please, if you'd like to speak, line up at the, sir, I'd like to give everyone their first chance first before people have a second chance.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members, administration. My name is Jim O'Donnell. I'm president of the Ferndale School Board and also a resident of the Ferndale neighborhood that borders Jefferson Oaks and Jefferson School. So just on the larger subject of the development, I know the public hearing doesn't encompass this, but our superintendent, Mr. Blake Pruitt, sent a letter to the city manager just explaining some of the background of what we did in terms of the development. In terms of the pilot ordinance, just weighing that against some of the alternatives, remembering that there wouldn't be any payment in lieu of taxes or any tax revenue coming in from the school being vacant, but vacant schools and vacant property become magnets for crime, and that would increase the demand on city services without having any income come into the city. So I think that's an important factor to come into play. And secondly, in terms of the schools, this property would be in the Ferndale Public Schools District, so we would expect those students to go to Ferndale, but of course, with our current schools of choice laws, they would be able to choose a different school if they wanted to go to Oak Park schools or private school, but we would work hard to keep them in Ferndale schools, of course. And we would hope that because of the nature of this affordable housing development, that those would be stable residents in the neighborhood, people who don't have this kind of supportive housing and this kind of sustainable affordable housing often end up moving from place to place, and the children are negatively affected, and that's really where you see instability in terms of poverty and pockets of poverty in neighborhoods. And what attracted the school board to this particular proposal was that the management and the community housing network approach to supported living and all of the services that will be on site, as well as the security and the screening. So we think this will be a benefit to the neighborhood, to the city of Oak Park, and to Ferndale Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. There was a question about what the back of that property looked like. Do you have an elevation showing the back? I would assume it would be.
Well, no.
Yes, please come to the mic.
My name's Brooke Ellis. I work with Fusco, Schaefer and Papas, the firm that CHN has hired. And because of the layout of the site, it's an L shape. Every building is meant to be designed with the front matching the back, perfectly honestly. You would not be able to tell if it's the front or the back because they're interchangeable because of the unique layout. So you really wouldn't see the difference. I'm sorry it's not here today, but I can guarantee you it would look just like that.
Thank you. Council member speech.
Yes, this is a question for the young lady that's seating. I know there was some concerns from residents about their house facing a back door. And I know we've seen the renderings. I didn't see anything like that, but is there a chance that someone's house would be facing a back door, or, you know, anything negative like a dumpster or anything like that?
No, I mean, honestly, there is, we have the site layout here. I think Kimberly, is it behind?
It does. I was concerned because, you know, of course, being someone that, you know, I'm very concerned. I hear the residents' concerns, and we want it to look good if it's going to be here. And so I want to make sure that, you know, things like, you know, the dumpsters or doorways, it didn't sound right to have the front of the condos or townhouses inside. So I wanted to make sure it's clear that what they're seeing on that picture, you're telling us we will see. Okay.
Can you
He wants
speak
you
at the
back.
mic? Yeah, we can hear you, but the people at home can't.
Yes, there's porches in the front and the back. Both are covered with a very similar design. It's just a matter of the dimensions being a little different. You really can't tell if it's the front or the back because of that design, because they are covered front and back porches. The backyards. There's a 25-foot setback for the most part from the sidewalk. I don't know if that helps answer your question.
We can't hear you if you're talking from your seat.
Would you like to?
Would you like to come to the mic and ask your question, please?
My name is Sarah Eba. I'm at 1586 West Troy Street. I just want to, are the kids going to be playing in the parking lot, or they're going to be playing on the streets? Like, are the back doors of the houses on Leroy Street and on Saratoga Street, are they on Republic going through there, or are they going to be facing the parking lot that you're showing in here? Because you're saying that there's a 25-foot setback, that's from the street, so that's where...
From the sidewalk.
Okay, from the sidewalk. But the sidewalk that's on the street, or is there an additional sidewalk inside the development?
You can enter from both sides. There's a sidewalk into your home.
Well, we need you on the mic, sorry.
Yes. You can enter from either way, from if you're walking in from the outer street into your home, or if you're parking behind into your home. So you have a yard on both sides, but the larger porch is interchangeable. It depends what building you're at. And green space, yes. And there is a play area that's designated as extra play space. So you have a yard, but everyone can gather at a new larger play space in the center of the property.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers that question.
Is there anyone who hasn't had a turn? Mhm. We understand these are not questions about the pilot, but I would like you to be as comfortable about this as possible. I would like you to hear the answers, because I think once you hear them, you will feel a lot better.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Oak Park City Council members. My name is Mike Cottle. I'm a resident of Oak Park, a member of the East Oak Park Block Association. I'm here to voice my support for the Jefferson Oaks development in tonight's tax certainty vote. I'm a property and facilities manager for a large nonprofit located in Farmington Hills. I understand the importance of real estate values and investment in the communities. When I found out that Jefferson Oaks would include on-site maintenance management from Community Housing Network, I had no doubt development would benefit our community. I work with Community Housing Network in my job and can tell you many good things about the company and its properties. My company serves people with disabilities, developmental disabilities. Sorry, got a little cold. Developmental disabilities, and we work to keep them in a safe, beautiful environment. Several years ago, CHN bought several of our properties and rehabilitated them with energy-efficient upgrades, new appliances, remodeled kitchens. On top of increasing the property values in these units, CHN also guaranteed rents for the people we serve, ensuring that they can live as long as they would like in their community of their choice. Their neighbors, all homeowners, regard these units and their tenants as part of the community. One of the group homes I serve is in Farmington Hills, and it needed work that we couldn't provide. Community Housing Network bought the property from us, rehabilitated, invested in it, and once again brought the property value up while keeping its residents happy and safe. In fact, according to a study conducted by Arizona State University, affordable housing developments that replace vacant properties and are expertly managed generate more positive impacts than negative impacts on the surrounding properties, especially when embedded in stable neighborhoods like the one surrounding the vacant school. I myself have lived in income-capped apartment housing. Much like any kind of rental, I had to work a job, I had to pay rent on time, I had to treat my neighbors and my home with respect. However, saving a few dollars each month while growing my income put me on a path to home ownership. Now I'm incredibly proud of my house I own here in Oak Park. I think part of my success is taking advantage of a pilot program like the one that you're voting on tonight. I encourage you to pass the tax certainty for this project and put more people on the path to home ownership, including people like those I serve and otherwise would not have a stable environment to live in. Thanks.
Thank you for speaking. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Beth O'Connor, and I live at 1326 West Hazelhurst in Ferndale. I just want to let you know, first of all, I'm a big advocate of supportive housing and affordable housing. I'm definitely here to support the pilot. I've had the unique experience of not only working in supportive housing for 9 years, but I also lived in the same neighborhood with some of the supportive housing projects that my company also managed. So, and in that, we definitely made sure that those properties were maintained, that they were safe for everybody involved. People do have a right to safe, sanitary, decent housing, for sure. I didn't work for a community housing network, but I definitely have done my research on them as well, because when I relocated to Detroit, I definitely was looking to get back into supportive housing, and they're definitely a great organization. I have no doubt that they will maintain the properties and do as they say with this property as well. Just in terms of the safety and crime and property values, I've definitely been to a lot of these meetings in the past, and you know the concerns are generally the same, and I totally understand them. But there's really no evidence anywhere that says that crime will raise once this development will go in. And actually, what you will find is that local businesses appreciate it because they get the business from the developments. And not only that, if you interview neighbors who have lived amongst these type of housings, you'll find that they actually appreciate and they don't have any negative impact. It doesn't actually impact property values. There is no evidence for that. So I just really want to make sure that we're thinking through everything. I think the questions are really good, and I think the people who are involved are the right people, and that makes all the difference in the world. So I do thank you guys. Thanks.
Thank you for coming. Please come up and give us your name and address. We have a 3-minute limit.
My name is David Gavlik. I live at 23120 Geneva Street. I would like to know why she says there's no evidence of that. There's been many developments in Taylor, which was Sin City. Flint was completely destroyed with these HUD programs. Pontiac and Detroit. The The people that were here 2 weeks ago talked about the increased traffic that will result from this program in Oak Park. They talked about the delinquency and the crime that will result. And it also disenfranchises all of Oak Park voters. The people that will be in this facility will not be paying property taxes. The government, the community, we will be paying their property taxes. And they will be able to vote for any referendum that the city wants to, where they want to increase millages, because they won't be paying property taxes. The other thing is that I understand that this company has already purchased the property. Is that true? Okay, why would any company buy property that was not zoned for their business? Unless they've been promised a deal, a special deal, that there would be rezoning would happen. I mean, is this hearing a charade? Have they been promised already that they would be rezoned, their property would be rezoned? Because why would they invest with such a risk? And why would the city council want to hurt the city of Oak Park, its voters, its citizens, its residents, by bringing in such a project that has destroyed other cities? What is it in, it's not, there's nothing for the citizens, but what is in it for the city council? Are they going to use this as an incentive for economic development and promise corporations cheap labor because they have a pool of cheap labor? They get free housing, free food. This borders on slave trading and slave laws. Thank you.
I just want my share of the cash.
Thank you. Can you speak to, first of all, the HUD question? Thank you. He's just going to answer the previous gentleman.
Okay. I'm glad that this was brought up because I was going to address this later. There has been some misinformation and some speculation about how this development is being financed. There are no federal dollars involved in the construction or the management of Jefferson Oaks. It's 100% privately financed and will be 100% privately managed.
No,
please let me finish. There will be some housing choice vouchers attached to the supportive housing units. And those are issued by the state of Michigan, and those technically flow from HUD. But HUD has this is not a HUD housing project as you all think of a HUD housing project. It's private development, private rental. So I'd like everybody to just understand that. To answer the two questions that you raised, we have an option agreement in place with Ferndale Public Schools with contingencies on various approvals we need from the city, and obtaining the financing that we need to go forward with the development. So that deal is in place with Ferndale Public Schools, but we have not just gone and completely purchased the property, so you don't have to be concerned about any side deals in place because there are none. Second thing, maybe just a little bit of our position or our take on property taxes. When you rent, you pay property taxes. You just don't get to claim them. But tenants pay, part of their rent goes to paying property taxes. The difference here is that we are, as the developer, are paying property taxes, and this is really why we're here tonight, is we're here talk about a negotiation that's taken place between the city and ourselves as the developer.
Sorry, no comments from the audience. Thank you. You had attorneys answering you.
And I think I've addressed both of those questions. Thank you.
About who pays the property tax. Traffic,
There's a couple of things. I've had extended conversations with Director Cooper. The city has not been made aware of traffic issues in this neighborhood. There are ways that the city has in place already to, apparently you contract with a firm that comes in and monitors during various times of day on several streets, and if there are issues, they make recommendations to the city, and according to Director Cooper, the recommendations are solid and you almost universally accept them.
now doesn't the school have traffic?
My
at least
understanding
twice a day,
from talking
people
with
driving in and out, and I taught in a school, there were a lot of people driving their kids to school, bringing traffic in. I taught in school for 32 years.
My understanding from
You'll get a turn.
from talking with Blake Pruitt, superintendent of Ferndale Public Schools, was that there are about 400 adult education students registered there, and they had on a daily basis somewhere about 250 of them that attended. And so Monday through Friday, and most of them came by private transportation. So that was, probably 200 plus cars coming in and out of the neighborhood each day. We don't anticipate having even that volume of traffic for the tenants that we'll have at Jefferson Oaks. So certainly that doesn't address weekends, but Monday through Friday, it's probably a decrease in traffic.
Can you address the crime question that the gentleman brought up?
Yes. One of the things that when Director Cooper and I spoke, first of all, we don't think that there's any inherent increase in crime waiting to happen here. In fact, we don't have, or nor do we feel the need to have 24/7 security. We have 24/7 property maintenance on site, and that person can certainly get in touch with public safety if there's an issue, but we don't have those problems in our developments because of who we rent to. Now, the other thing
What are the requirements for a renter?
As far as,
Well, you said who you rent to.
yes, first of all, they have to have income. They have to be able to afford to pay their rent. So there's an extensive rental credit check done. The other thing, and I hope that this eases some fears for people, is that one, we have a zero tolerance in our development for any ongoing criminal activity, and on the front end, all residents that are 18 years or older, not just the leaseholder, but any other adults that are on the application to live in the house, any violent crime, criminal sexual conduct, drug possession with intent to sell, none of that will automatically disclude an applicant from being allowed to rent from us. So I want people to feel very comfortable about that, that we have a very significant, this is almost $16 million investment that we're making in Jefferson Oaks, and we plan on protecting that investment. And it's in our interest to have great tenants, as it is also in our interest to have great tenants that become part of the neighborhood around them.
You do something about an organization of the people who are renting, like a block club that you had mentioned?
Yes, we have tenant advisory committees within our developments that meet on a regular basis it's both to better the development as a whole, better the living experience for the residents. They also, in many cases, arrange some social activities and ways for people to get to know each other. On a broader level, I would tell you one of the things that we will do is up in Pontiac, in our Unity Park Rentals development, we have a community revitalization coordinator. And it's essentially his job to connect neighbors to each other and to connect neighbors to things that they need. And it's not just working with the residents of the Unity Park Rentals development, it's that whole broader neighborhood of 400 households. And he's out in the neighborhood. People know him on a first-name basis. It would be our intention to have Jarrett or somebody in a similar role perform the same thing here. Help organize neighborhood watch. It's my understanding there's no formal neighborhood watch in this neighborhood.
That's correct.
Form block clubs. Do things to get neighbors to know each other and to work together to better their neighborhood, and for things that for instance, the traffic and safety issues. I think maybe people have just said it's not going to change. We can help make some change there. We can help get people together that want to address those things. And I think the city's and I think the city wants to listen as well. That's the sense that I have.
Clearly.
Thank you.
Clearly, we are into open doors and into involving the residents. As you see, we want to hear from you. Thank you. Next, give us your name and address. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Nadine Corey, 8550 Saratoga, right across the street from Jefferson Oaks, proposed project. I have issues with the project. I am not against affordable housing for anyone. I'm totally for it. However, what you are proposing, I am totally against. That park, as the gentleman stated, the kids use in the neighborhood. Outside organizations come in for soccer games, baseball games, adult as well as children. They use it for kite flying. They're taking that space away from us. We have no green space within the area for our children to go and play without crossing 9 Mile, crossing Livernois, going way over to Ferndale, wherever the closest facility is, Geary Park, or over to the Kulik Center to play. The other thing that I have against is the way the driveway is positioned to come out of the project onto Saratoga, which is right next door to the bus yard, which Ferndale uses for their buses. We have traffic starting at 6:30 in the morning till sometimes 10 at night. There is no parking on my side of the street. There is parking on the opposite side of the street.
Let there be light. All right.
We have cars that start at Rosewood that blow through the yield sign at Meadowlark in Saratoga. By the time they hit the corner of Republic and Saratoga, they are doing at least 80 miles an hour. I have addressed this with CJ. We have issues with this. There is no police presence on that street. I had a truck stolen out of my yard a year ago, right out of my yard. And when the officer showed up from the city of Oak Park, he's had the audacity to ask me if my truck was repossessed. Do you know how humiliating that was? I'm sorry, but a public official, no, should not ask anyone that question. Because if it was repossessed, Oak Park Police Department would have already known about it. Because a repossession has to be reported to the police department prior to repossessing a vehicle off the premises of a property owner.
I was in poverty. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think that's not called for. I'm sorry. Don't sit there and ask me, was it repossessed? I owned the vehicle outright. It was stolen out of my yard, out of the driveway. Just as my neighbors have said they have had 2 vehicles. We police our own neighborhood at 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning because there is no police presence on that street. One of the neighbors has had her home broken into more than once. We need some type of guarantee from the city of Oak Park or from CHN that this is going to be addressed, that we are going to see police presence. Police presence is seen up and down Republic by the city of Ferndale constantly. They can't make a right-hand turn onto Saratoga, and they can't make a right-hand turn onto Leroy.
Time's just about up. If you could finish your last comment.
Fix the problem.
Thank you.
You want our support, we want your support.
We
want our
would
green
love
space
your
back. You're
support.
taking everything, we get nothing.
And we would love you to be instrumental in helping us develop a neighborhood watch in your neighborhood. Yes, please.
You have to be at the mic.
Yeah.
Just a quick one.
To be at the mic. You've been up twice.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I just?
Yes, please.
Could CJ, could you speak to the green space issue? I know that's a question that my office received quite a bit.
All right. As we talked a little bit about the site plan here, we recognize that there's green space right there now that is going away. We've attempted to work within our plans to at least try and, we've put the 25-foot setback, we've got 2 play areas proposed, but we recognize that there is something that's going away that's there right now. Now, and I don't have a great answer for that, other than Ferndale Public Schools has a problem. That district is built to accommodate 7,000 students. They have 3,000 enrolled. They had to do something with that building. And it's going to happen, my understanding, to a couple others, not obviously in Oak Park, but within the next year, they're going to be faced with the same thing. The green space was going away, one way or another. It's just a reality of some of the things that have changed in the last decade that all of us have dealt with, regardless of where we live. I've dealt with it in my community, Farmington Hills. It's not a unique thing. We are exploring some options that would at least bring some green space back nearby. And we've heard you, and we appreciate that, and we understand that you've come, the space that's been here for so long, you've come to use that as a park. And it happened to have a school building in the middle of it, but a lot of it was used as a park, and it's just not, whether it's us or somebody else, it's gone, and it's not going to be there anymore. But we're going to keep working on some options that at least might be able to bring something back nearby.
Council member speech.
Sorry, I wasn't on. I actually was going to say a lot of what CJ said about the green space because, it's very unfortunate. Number one, I personally never knew that there was a part of Jefferson that the community was using as a park, and so I never knew the need. I never knew anything about that until this issue came up. Now, as a council, we know that there's an area, on that side of 9 Mile that is in need of some type of green space, or in some way, some community development on that side, in collaboration, hopefully with possibly with the Jefferson Oaks project. But there were a few things said today that I just want to remind everyone. Number one, this development is significant, and if it goes through, yes, there will be renters, but Oak Park has a large percentage of renters now, and those renters do pay property taxes, as was mentioned. It's in their rent, it's included, and they are afforded the same citizenship and accoutrements, as I say, as every other citizen here in the city. And so even if this goes through, or any other development in the city goes through, we don't look at renters any differently than we look at homeowners in the aspect of they're all a part of our community. And I wanted to state that so that everyone understands. I hear the hostility about why this is going up and where it's going up, but some of the hostility that I hear regarding, the type of renter or renters, period, I just want you to know renters are all around us in Oak Park. That's one thing. And the last issue about safety. You may have heard me if you hear me out in the community. Yesterday I was at the block clubs. I love our public safety department because one, it was the first one in America, and they use our public safety department as a example for others. And also they've taken a hit a lot, and we're trying to bring things back. But if there's any issue with a street or any safety issue, what normally happens is someone either gets an email or it's directed directly to the department, and the department will request the city council to do a traffic, a traffic study. I have not had in front of me since 2013 a request for a traffic study for Saratoga. So I don't know if that means there is has not been something coming from the public, or I don't know. But I welcome anyone with any issue in the streets, on the streets or safety, to send it to me, send it to one of us, so that I know Director Cooper will make sure it gets taken care of. And that's also regarding, any officers or any issues that you feel could be done better with any department. Our administration, our council, we all want to make sure that people here feel respected, and that we stay a community. So please keep in touch with us and let us know. And I'm ready for whatever safety measures need to be in place, if that's what makes the community feel better about this type of project. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Chungate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to just offer a recommendation, and my office heard comments from both Ferndale residents and Oak Park residents for the last couple of weeks in the time between the two council meetings. Would you be willing to sit down with the members of this community and talk about some of the green space planning? So you'll engage them. So before you leave, can you get information from everyone here and make sure that you're getting all of their ideas and their input? And by the way, I also and the mayor's asked about this too, and I want to make sure that as the city administrator of this community that I'm fully addressing the public safety concerns of everybody in the audience. I have discussed this. That's the number one priority of all of us in this room, by the way, especially myself. And I have discussed this issue with our public safety director. And Director Cooper, if you wouldn't mind coming to the podium and just sharing a couple of your thoughts about some of the implications that this development would have on our public safety department.
Good evening, City Manager, Mayor, and Council. And I've listened quite carefully to a lot of the concerns that have come before this council today, and I spoke with Mr. Felton at length. And I understand the concerns about the shortages, the potential shortage of public safety officers. However, I'm not deterred in the least bit that the potential 250 residents is going to take away from the public safety services that we currently provide to our residents and the manner that we provide them. If they're ever, like I said, I heard this evening as well, there's some concerns or potential concerns as far as traffic, egress coming in and out of the neighborhoods there. And Mr. Felton had spoken about, when we talked on the telephone, I told him about our Traffic Improvement Association, which is a traffic engineering study firm that we actually use to do our traffic studies. And anytime we have concerns or issues, we actually do refer them to TIA, and they come out and they do actual surveys. They make recommendations, which is correct. We pretty much 100% of the time we implement the recommendation with the approval of council, and we could do that here. There's no secret that there's a shortage of public safety officers, no doubt. But is that going to affect our ability to provide you the services that you're accustomed to? Absolutely not. We're doing many things behind the scenes so that your response time remains the same, and that the level of services that you come to expect remain as they are and are seamless. And I understand the gentleman who spoke earlier, one of his concerns is that he stays on the further southeast end of the city, and that you don't see officers as much as you would like. I totally understand that as well. You keep in mind we have 5.5 square mile city, and that's probably one of the major concerns, or some of the complaints or challenges that you'll hear is that the residents, you want a car rolling down your street, pretty much once an hour, on a 24-hour period, which is just is not possible. I can tell you this, that we do have officers assigned to each quadrant of the city. They're out there, they're aggressively working. You'll see me out from time to time as well. Sometimes I'll be in an unmarked car, sometimes I'm in a marked car. But it's an all-hands-on-deck approach that we're taking in our public safety department until we can get our numbers restored to the levels that we're comfortable with. So as much as I can alleviate any of the audience's concerns as it relates to the safety that they're going to receive or the lack thereof, rest assured that I take great pride in the job that we do, and your safety is not going to be a concern with the new Jefferson Oaks development coming into the city if it's approved.
And I want to just make one more promise that if and when this project is able to take shape, that we will conduct a traffic study. And if the study comes back that enhancements need to be made to the right-of-ways down there, then we'll make the recommendation to City Council to make those enhancements, to make the area safer from a traffic perspective.
Thank you. So you've talked to Mr. Felton and you are comfortable with his answers?
And one of the big concerns that I hear being voiced here as well is the tenants are, the caliber of residents that you're going to have in the area and the ability to police that small community. And one of the things that Mr. Felton spoke, and I 100% echo, is the zero tolerance policy as it relates to any type of crime or any type of nefarious activity. We take a zero tolerance approach, and I've been assured by Mr. Felton, and I don't have any reason to believe otherwise, that it's not going to happen. If we have issues, we plan on working very closely with Mr. Felton, as we do with some of our other apartment complex managers here in the city of Oak Park. They've been very receptive to any information or our critiques as it relates to their properties. Some of the other developments have actually implemented a lot of them and have helped to actually create a safer Oak Park. And I'm confident that Mr. Felton and his team will work well together, and we'll do the same. So rest assured, whatever manpower we have, whatever issues or challenges that we have internally, we don't want that to be your issue. We will get the job done.
Thank you so much. Hi, welcome.
Hi, I'm Doreen Baltus, 8510 Saratoga, so it's right in front of my street. I'm trying to find out, and what I think I heard you say is you're going to put a sidewalk right there, right in the backyard. And what I'm trying to figure out, I was hoping maybe the road would be widened, because it's only parking on one side, and so they have an opportunity to park on Saratoga and also in their community. Is there any way we can widen the road, because we're sharing with the buses? The plowing, sometimes if people don't move their cars, plowing does not come back, and cars are parked far away. Buses have a trouble getting through sometimes, and busing is a lot, up and back and down. What I want to know is, are you going to widen it? Are they going to have access back and forth? Parking both sides? Are you going to give us permit parking where they're not allowed and we can park there?
City Manager Tungate.
Thank you for your questions. We don't have any plans to widen the road.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, the need for buses here will be eliminated as a part of this project, so.
No.
Okay,
School buses
I mean,
are right
pulling
there.
up to the school, those buses will not be pulling up to the school. But,
The buses never came to the school.
okay, but there is not a plan to widen the road at this time at all.
Okay, so what about the parking? Because they're going to be both sides. They can park both ways. They can park in there and on our side. And we don't have a lot of parking. It's on one side.
Who can park on both sides?
No one. It's only on one side
Yeah.
we can park. And sometimes it's gone. The side where the building is where we can only park.
That is not, yeah, that's not something that we've discussed thus far, but I'll definitely take it into consideration for hearing your comments.
And I just have one more question. And I know you said you're background checking and everyone, and you have a zero tolerance, which I have a zero tolerance. So if the children are caught selling, doing drugs, do you evict the family? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming up. Everyone who comes up with a question, other people are thinking.
Okay. Joyce Bannon again. Be nice to me over here. Okay, regarding the voting, 40%, I think it was a couple months ago, 40% of our city is already rentals. They already have the right to vote. And if this year goes in, every one of those people will be eligible to vote. If half of them vote, us officials working those polls would be ecstatic, because we don't get that many out to vote. So that answers as far as the vote goes. They pay rent, they pay taxes. As far as merchants go over there, there are no merchants except Ernie's. Ernie's can't take anymore. And Ernie's at an age right now, because he's older than I am. He's good. He's already had one heart attack. He's due to retire anytime, and if you put too much more pressure on him, I know his wife will make him. Do you run TRWs on these people before they move in? The TRWs you run? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, well, nope.
Good evening, Nicole Amy, 23481 Meadowlark, Oak Park. I'm both a resident of Oak Park, and I'm in the portion of Oak Park that resides in the Ferndale School District. I'm active in both the school community and the Oak Park community. I think a lot of people, it seems like, view those as separate and distinct things, but I think that the success of one and the other are kind of interchangeable. I think that you do have a large portion of your city that does attend Ferndale schools, and that, you know, as much as I would love all the spaces around me to be a park, it's just not feasible. And the school district does need to sell the property. I think they've gotten a fair price for it. I've been following all of the hearings on it, and as much as I hear the concerns about property values and crime, I mean, I have renters on my street that are great renters and great neighbors, and I have homeowners that are horrible. So, I mean, the relationship between what you're assuming will happen and what actually happens are two different things. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Hello, I'm Aaron Tobin. I live on Balfour, and I would like to ask council, by a show of hands, how many have actually been to the site and inspected it?
We have.
Because I was there, and according to this map, it is way overcrowded. Ferndale said they have a problem, that they had to get rid of the school. I say to Ferndale, don't make your problem our problem. Why can't Ferndale schools, or why can't city councils say, you know what? It's shaped like an L, it has to be a rectangle, and you must have 40% of that property green space as a park for the children to play. Oak Park is the family city. Families need places for the kids to play. I think before we, talking about the pilot taxes, no tax breaks should be given to this property. Nothing should be done as far as changing the classification of this property until they commit. Oak Park, I believe they can say, you must have 40% green space for this property. And Ferndale, don't be so greedy. If you have to give them 40% of the money back, give them 40% of the money back. And CHN, I ask you not to be so greedy, and don't jam people in like sardines into this property with no place for the children to play. So my proposal is that the city says, before you go in and put out this property like you're doing it, do not overcrowd it, do not jam the people in like sardines, and have 40% of this space, green space for the children to play in. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Felton, you talk about play areas and green space. I think we're not taking third turns. So if you've spoken before, please sit down.
Regarding 40% of the property, are they proposing that the city pay for, who's gonna pay for the 40% green space? I guess would be my question, because that goes back to the original suggestion somebody made about why doesn't the city just buy the entire property? And I don't believe the city can do that. In fact, the city's probably not in any position to buy any portion of it, correct? And as a nonprofit organization, we can't afford, and we're not in a position to be able to develop public parkland either. I think we've got the setbacks, we've got the set aside there, and we've agreed to address this green space challenge that we've got. There's a couple ideas that we already have ourselves, and we'd love to meet with whoever wants to talk about that and see what kind of ideas we could get put together.
Can you pass out a sheet of paper and people can put their name, address, and email address so that you can call a meeting of them?
Absolutely. I've got it ready already.
Got it ready. Okay, please sign your name, address, and email address. We want you to be part of the solution. We want you to be included. Okay, last comment, please.
Kevin Bodas, 1606 West Troy. According to kind of a rough estimate, we're looking at $400,000 to $500,000 tax base for the next 15 years for Oak Park. Infrastructure is a big hit because you have to change some things to make this happen. In addition, property value and impact of traffic and other main components to bringing in a population, whatever the population is. We know the land needs to be populated. It's just at what cost at this point? Is it worth the $300,000 to $500,000 tax base to upend what you've already invested in within the community? Housing wise, it's on the upswing. It's in the last 5 years, and tax base is going up as a result, right? So 21, I base that number based on the $21,000 plus the 1% or 2% increase over the next 15 years. Am I on point on the number?
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, your math is actually really good. The projection we gave the city over the life of the pilot was $400,469. So you're right there.
Thank you. We need, you had 2 turns. Thank you. We are done with public comments.
Motion to close the hearing.
You will sit down,
Address
please.
the taxation because that.
Excuse me? We are ending the public hearing. You've
Why?
had a turn.
There's nobody behind me. Why can't I just
Thank
say
you.
something short
Thank you for coming.
and rebuttal the tax?
Thank you. I think that you will agree that we have been totally open, totally available. We are taking your information. We want you to continue to provide input. We are happy that you care about where you live. You are the kind of people that we want as neighbors and as friends. Everyone on this board lives in this city. We would never do something that would not be in the city's best interest. We live here too. We are your neighbors and your friends, and we want to work with you. This is an open group. We welcome input. We thank you for coming, appreciate your comments. Everyone is not going to be thrilled and happy with everything that City Council does. We understand that. Thank you. Next item. Second reading and adoption of an ordinance to provide for a service charge in lieu of taxes, a pilot program for housing development known as Jefferson Oaks. We need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
Madam Mayor, if I could.
Yes,
I would just only ask that the agreement to be voted on is amended to include the chart at the back as the floor and that no ceiling be established.
Okay.
As amended.
Okay, as amended.
Yeah, I think both of us, you speak for yourself.
Agreed?
Yes.
Yeah, both of us agree.
We need, is there any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Levine.
Okay, what we are voting on right now is a pilot program. It is only one of many hoops that this project is going through. The project will still have to go through zoning approval. It'll still have to go through a site plan approval, which will include a traffic study. They'll involve the Planning Commission and Council twice more. And I have to say that this is Community Housing Network has made a commitment to work not just with the people that are their residents, but to help reach out into the community and to work with the community. I think the first test of that is going to be getting together and trying to resolve some of the green space concern, which was a concern of mine as well. I'm hopeful that everybody can have a good meeting of the minds on that.
Thank you.
That's all I want to say.
Thank you, appreciate that. Anyone else? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Selleckson.
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Motion carried. Election's coming up. If you're not happy, vote the bums out. All right, next item. Accounting reports. Approval for payments of an invoice submitted by Seacrest, Wardle, Lynch, Hampton, Truex, and Morley for legal services in the amount of $4,787.
Okay. Motion?
We need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Councilmember Segliston.
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Motion
Motion-
carried. Thank you. Does the city attorney have a report this time?
I have no report this evening, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Tungate, item 15, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'd be remiss before I go through the rest of the city manager report if I didn't wish our esteemed mayor happy birthday. Many of you don't know it's her birthday. I don't want to dump this on the ground, but can we get that? Oh, geez, I almost did. Geez, I don't want to turn it too much, but we're going to be.
Thank you. Everyone who comes is invited to share in the birthday cake
Happy birthday.
for sitting through all of this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Enough money in the world to make it worth sitting through all of this.
Madam Mayor, members of council, 15A, I'd like to introduce and ask for your confirmation of Carl Johnson as our new finance director, actually our new and old finance director and treasurer. Carl, if you'll join me at the podium briefly. Carl's a CPA who, by the way, this is Carl's second stint here at the city. He was one of the partners at Plant Moran when I first hired him. And he's a CPA who has specialized in municipal finance and accounting for the past 28 years, and he's only 29 years old, so this is pretty amazing. He spent 25 years at accounting firm Plant Moran, where he literally created the government practice that we retained him for. In my opinion, Carl is one of the top local unit of government financial managers in the entire state, and I know that opinion is shared by many city managers across the state. Members of council, Madam Mayor, members of council, Carl will be with us with your confirmation tonight, unlimited, going forward, and I could not be happier. This is the one thing that I lose sleep about. Carl, if you can introduce yourself, please.
Well, thank you, Eric. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As Eric said, as soon as I saw the opening here, I ran to his door and begged and pleaded to come back. No, literally, I really enjoyed the 4 or 5 months that I was here while I was with the accounting firm and was able to assist for that 1 year. Loved the way the city was going, loved the leadership, loved the good things that were going on with the bond issuance, the city hall, and there was a lot of good things going on. And a year and a half later, like I said, as soon as the opening came up, I really jumped on the opportunity and begged and pleaded, and was fortunate enough to convince Eric to bring me back. So looking forward to working with you. A lot of ideas, a lot of changes I'd like to do to make us more efficient and most importantly, ensure our long-term survival. That's one big thing on my list. So again, thank you for the welcome. I thought everybody was here for me at first, and you baked a cake, but
Are there questions for Carl Johnson from council?
Just welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate
We're
it.
delighted to have you. I think we need a motion to confirm.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Welcome to Oak Park.
All right, thank you again. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Makes me so happy. If I could call the Assistant City Manager, Kevin Yee, to the podium, please, for 15B. Oh, I was trying to save that for later.
Thank you. Attached are proposed change order number 1 and payment application number 1 for the 2015 fire hydrant blasting and repainting project M607. The change order is an increase due to an additional 6 fire hydrants that were added in the project area that were not on the initial bid. Project blasted and painted fire hydrants in the area shown on the attached map. The change order is a $1,800 increase. It is recommended that proposed change order number 1 for the 2015 fire hydrant blasting and repainting project M607 be approved to Cross Renovations of Garden City, Michigan for the total amount of $1,800. It is further recommended that payment application number 1 for the same be approved for the amount of $37,400. Funding is available in the Water and Sewer Fund.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Support?
Moved and supported. Questions for Director, Assistant City Manager Yee? Keep trying to demote you.
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Assistant City Manager Yee, will this complete the project? I remember we had approved one before. Will this complete the project for the full blasting, and then we just kind of start over again, or where are we at with that?
This completes the project, and we will evaluate what areas we think may need to be done again. But as of right now, all the hydrants in the city have been blasted and painted.
Okay.
Further questions? Okay, let's see. 37,000. No further questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor McClellan?
Yes.
Councilmember Segliston?
Yes.
Councilmember Speech?
Yes.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Assistant City Manager Yee, 15C, and members of council, I'd like to point out that while we sometimes, maybe more often, would like to bring change orders against us to you, this one is one that is in our favor to the tune of about $68,000.
A reduction.
Reduction.
Correct. Attached is proposed change order number 1 and payment application number 1 for the 2015 commercial sidewalk replacement project M594. Proposed change order is a reduction due to the final as constructed measurements. This reduction is in the amount of $68,547.54. It is recommended that proposed change order number 1 for the 2015 commercial sidewalk replacement program M594 be approved to Italia Construction, Inc. for the total amount of a reduction of $68,547.54. It is further recommended that payment application number 1 for the same be approved in the amount of $349,665.11. Funding is available in the Sidewalk Program Capital Improvement Fund.
Okay, we need a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Support.
Any comments or questions? Yep. Councilmember Speech.
Yes. 2 questions for you. So, I see that there was a repair. Something happened with a box on Coolidge. The contractor damaged the box on Coolidge, and so there was a repair.
Right.
Was there any issue around that? That was my first question. And then second, the project has already started?
The project is completed.
Oh, it's completed?
Right. And the
Okay.
question on we deducted that amount. We had to replace a box. So we purchased the box from East Jordan, which is in Oak Park, and they put it in. So we just had to purchase that, and we deducted that from their pay estimate.
Okay, we did deduct it. Okay.
Question further, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just want to point out that we now have sidewalks in places where we never did in the city. That means that we'll have less of a hazard for people in the winter who have had to step off into 8 Mile Road sometimes to get by, and other locations in the city. I think that this is a major improvement for everybody and a major safety improvement for all the residents.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thank you. Long time coming, but we're glad it's here.
Yes.
Okay, a vote. Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Segliston?
Yes.
Councilmember Speech?
Yes.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine?
Yes.
And Mayor McClellan?
Yes. Mayor, motion carried.
And Assistant City Manager Yee, 15D, please.
Attached are proposed change order number 1 and payment application number 1 for the 2015 water main replacement project, M609. The proposed change order is an increase due to the addition of 260 feet. We located 260 feet of 6-inch water main at the end of the run. It really made no sense why this 6-inch water main was there. We didn't think it would extend on 260 feet addition, but we're replacing all the 6-inch water main in the city with 8-inch water main for flow and fire flow. So I felt that we needed to add this as a change order to complete it. If we would have known, we would have added it into the original project and the original design. It didn't seem logical that it was this extra 260 feet of 6-inch was there, because it connects to another 8-inch piece of pipe. It's kind of hard to explain, but anyway, it doesn't make much sense that it was there. It wasn't shown that way on maps and drawings, but once we got to doing the project, we discovered it. So I made the decision to bring it before council for a replacement, because I feel it needs to be done. It is recommended that change order number 1 for the 2015 water main replacement project, M609, be approved to Macomb Pipeline and Utility Company for the total amount of $43,490. It is further recommended that payment application number 1 for the same be approved in the amount of $204,406.30. Funding is available in the Water and Sewer Fund.
Okay, a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Support.
Motion support. Questions for, yes, Councilmember Burns, please.
Yes, Mr. Yee, I'm looking at the information, and the project is now 40% complete.
Correct.
Okay, so the payments that we've made, this would be about 40% payment, so we aren't gonna submit the last payment until the job is complete, correct?
Right, right. We paid, this is a progress payment, so we paid them for the work that they've actually done.
Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you.
I think it's this kind of attention to detail that is the reason why the infrastructure in Oak Park is so phenomenal compared to other cities, that for decades, that this kind of careful, methodical work has continued to be done, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. We have a great team.
No further questions. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Speech?
Yes.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine?
Yes.
Mayor McClellan?
Yes.
Councilmember Seglerson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I'd like to ask our Director of Community Economic Development, Kim Maroney, to join me at the podium. Council members, there have been just a couple of text revisions to 15E and 15F, and I'd like to remind you that these two agenda items were previously on our agenda, but that we couldn't vote for them. We only had 3 members present, and we needed 4. Director Maroney?
Yes, we've had Global Realty come speak to council before in regards to renovating the tax foreclosure properties. There's 1 vacant parcel, 18 homes, and 3 industrial properties that we would like to purchase from Oakland County, which is the first portion of the agenda item, excuse me. And the second item is for you to approve us to sell them to Global Realty so that they can renovate them and put homeowner occupants into the homes, as well as new tenants into the industrial buildings.
Okay. And can you just review for all of us, what they plan on doing with these homes? Why did we pick this company? What are they going to do for us? How is this an improvement over just letting other investors take this property?
Yes, last year we did not purchase any of our tax foreclosed properties, and all of those went into the hands of landlords and are now more rental units within our community. And one of the things that we've identified in our strategic economic development plan is to reduce the number of landlord owner occupied homes and get them into owner hands. So this particular business approached us, as well as some others that we researched, and they kind of rose to the top in the quality of product that they do in the homes that they renovate. They don't just do the bare minimum. They go in and give a good quality product that will eventually, in the other communities they've worked in, has helped to raise the property values because it has increased the value of the homes within the community by their sale prices.
About how much do they invest in each of the homes?
It can vary. It all depends on the condition it's in when they get into it. There's no set amount and no way to estimate it.
So if there are a bad roof or a bad furnace or a bad driveway or a kitchen that needs renovation or a bathroom that needs renovation, they do that kind of work. They're not just the paint and carpet kind
No.
of-
They do everything to not only meet code but exceed it. But the amounts can reflect anything from a mold-infested home that, excuse me, will cost thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, to one that may need more minor renovations. A lot of their homes, the pictures that we've seen, are they do the granite countertops, the nicer cabinets. It's not just go in, do the bare minimum, and flip it. Because it's in their best interest to create a quality product. So if they come back the next year, house prices will go up.
So we're not only doing away with blight, but we're adding home ownership.
Yes.
To the city.
And they promise within 7 days of retaining ownership that they'll go in and do a cleanup on the property and secure the site.
And how long after they bought the property do they plan on selling it?
They plan to get everything done within a year on all the properties.
Okay.
And so, Madam Mayor, if I could just add, and I know one of the things that concerns me the most is that, not concerns me, but I want to make sure of, is that the $418,000 that is outstanding on the tax rolls to the county, that when we purchase these, that we'll expect our reimbursement, let's call it, for that this week. Is that what we're thinking, or?
We haven't worked with the county yet, has not responded as to when we can set that date up.
The check from Global Realty, though, will be,
We would get the earnest money upon signature of this contract, and then
so all of this needs
everything
to
else
be-
will take place at closing.
okay, so everything needs to be transacted very quickly, because I know the county's being held up for us, because we didn't have our.
The county treasurer's office told me that if we are going to sell the property immediately after we purchase it from the county, that if we walk the deed to them, she'll walk it to the treasurer's office, she'll walk it down, and we can all do it in the same day, so it'll be fairly seamless.
Thank you.
So we need to approve a resolution approving the sale of tax foreclosed property. And resolution approving purchase of tax foreclosed property. We do them in two, yes?
Mhm.
Separately? Okay, so first we need the approval of the resolution approving the sale of this tax foreclosed property. Purchase, sorry. Purchase first.
So moved.
Support?
Discussion or questions?
Yes.
Council members, Burns.
I give my support under the condition, there were two stipulations that we were supposed to make during contract negotiations for this.
Right.
Were they met to your satisfaction, City Manager?
Councilmember Burns, yes, they were, absolutely.
Okay.
Further,
By the way, the most stringent of those was that, there would be a 95% rate, so we did change that in the agreement, so.
Okay, thank you. I know there were two that we were discussing.
further questions?
I was gonna ask about the 95% rate, cause I don't see it. I can't really see one of the.
Yeah, it's in
It's hard to read.
the very last.
38, it's under number 38 for the purchase agreement.
It's kind of hard to read back there, but, yeah, I don't remember, it's in that the owner occupants would encompass 95% of the properties to be sold.
Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Segliston,
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
And the next one is.
Motion carries.
Motion carried, yep.
Madam Mayor, members of council, the next one is the sale, this would be the sale of these same properties back to Global Realty, as we just discussed in the purchase agreement, for the
Okay,
terms provided.
Motion to approve the sale of tax foreclosed properties to Global Realty.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion or questions?
Question, we're gonna sell it for the amount that we just saw, the 418, whatever, okay.
Exactly, and that's the amount the treasurer's office requires us to reimburse for the outstanding on each of the properties. That's the total for all of the outstanding.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Segliston,
Yes.
Councilmember Speech,
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, Madam Mayor, members of council, then we have item 15G. Director Maroney, if you could take this one as well, and I think this is just to set the public hearing, and we'll,
Yes, at the last city council meeting, we had representatives from Peak Management come in to speak to council in regards to the proposed project of them purchasing Providence Green Apartment Complex, doing renovations to the site. And one of the incentives that they were requesting is for us to set up an obsolete property rehabilitation district, which we've already done for these two parcels that encompass Providence Green. They have now submitted an application to ask for the actual incentive. However, in order for us to consider it, we need to set a public hearing for the August 17th city council meeting, sorry.
council members, I wanted to just add, I did pass out an example of obsolete property, some guidelines that have been established by another community. Kim, could you just briefly discuss these?
Currently, the city of Oak Park does not have any standards set for an obsolete property rehabilitation incentive. However, we have them for our IFTs that we give out currently. So I did a little research, and this particular community seemed to have a pretty good guideline set for us. So I just wanted to put that in front of council. This may be something we may want to consider when approving this.
Okay, we are requesting to set a public hearing for August 17th, 2015, to consider an application by Loop on Greenfield for an obsolete property rehabilitation certificate for parcels 52, 25, 19, 326, 017, and 52, 25, 19, 301, 012, otherwise known as Providence Green Apartments. Request to set a public hearing.
Support,
We need a motion.
Motion to support.
Support.
Okay, discussion or questions?
I do have a question. So once the public hearing happens, are we trying to put this in place before they actually submit their application? Or will there be nothing in place when they apply?
You're
The
talking about the
example
guidelines?
Yes, the
There won't be
guidelines.
anything in place, but we were hoping to follow those guidelines since we don't have anything in place.
Madam Mayor, members of council, if I could just clarify, we do have guidelines for tax incentives like this. And so, Kim, if we could share those leading into the next meeting. I don't think this should be any different in terms of establishing those guidelines and following procedure that we already have in place for some of our brownfield projects throughout the city.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I think what Councilwoman's speech might have been saying, if I hear you right, and I agree, would we be approving the guidelines prior to approving the agreement?
Can that
We
happen?
can do that by next.
Absolutely. There's no reason why you can't do that.
Yeah, because I would prefer that we have if someone's requesting something, I would prefer that we have guidelines in place. Even if there's something, you have a great sample here, but I would prefer that we have something in place and that they are, held to before we approve their request. I welcome the economic development manager's thoughts on it, though.
Well, as Eric mentioned, we do have standards already put in place for our IFTs that we currently approve within the city.
Mhm.
This is just a little bit more in-depth and more specific to this type of tax incentive.
Right.
Which would allow us to better evaluate this particular project. If you feel it necessary to approve a standard that we set forth, we would need to do that before we approve, or consider approving, I should say, this particular incentive at the next city council meeting.
Yeah.
It would have to be done in the same meeting, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it being done in the same meeting, but as far as, having something before we approve the first one.
This is just setting a public hearing, but so we can have that in place
I
for the
understand
next
that, but
meeting.
you asked for discussion.
Madam Mayor, but if I could just address that even a little bit more here. What my recommendation is going to be is that we don't veer off the beaten path because we already do have those guidelines established. None of the things that you see here in this sample are any different than the ones we already have established for RFTs. So when we come back to you, we'll bring all of that and we'll compare and contrast so that it's very clear what you're approving, and the point system is applied towards it, just like it would be for a brownfield IFT.
Okay, I'm just gonna go on record of saying that I think we should have these in place before, okay? I will go with what the administration thinks, but, you know, I oftentimes feel that, you know, in an effort to get something done, that we really, really want done, sometimes we miss some things, and I don't think it's any harder to put something in place. We have an example, we can put it on the agenda, and we can say yes to it, and then approve something, except in the another example would be to have someone come and we approve this if it gets approved, and then go back behind it and put things in place. I just don't see that as the proper way, and I just want to go on record as saying that's not the proper, I wouldn't,
I'm not suggesting that, I just want to go on the record and say that, and so.
you all are saying, I understand what you're saying that you already have a process in place for something else we have. What I'm saying is.
This will be in place, that we will have a copy of this for the August 17th meeting. Yep. So.
No, that's not, the Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act is not what will be in existence. The guidelines for it won't be in existence. This is just an example.
We will have them to be approved at the next meeting.
Oh, okay.
If there's no further comments, roll call for the setting of the public hearing.
Mayor McClellan?
Yes.
Councilmember Segliston?
Yes.
Councilmember Speech?
Yes.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine?
Yes.
Motion carried. The last item. Almost.
Just like I say, second to last, and I had asked Director Maroney to just give a brief update. I know the planning for the Summerfest has been pretty extensive, so if you could just give us a brief update on what will be occurring this weekend and some of the things that our residents can expect.
Yes, the Summerfest Committee has been planning for this weekend's Summerfest for a year now, and we have a great group of volunteers, not only from the Arts and Cultural Commission, but also from the Ethnic Advisory Commission and just residents in the community. And it will be this Saturday and Sunday. Saturday from noon to 10 p.m., Sunday from noon to 8 p.m. in Shepherd Park. We have a lot of great activities going on, a lot of added events that were not in place last year. We have a stage full of entertainment, a lot of local food vendors, artists, and it's all free to the community. Make sure if you're going to use the inflatables that you bring some socks to wear and closed-toed shoes if you're going to use the rock climbing wall. But come out and enjoy the day, and we will have our first ever beer tent in the city of Oak Park, Saturday only, from noon to 10, sponsored by Camp Casey.
Toy ponies?
No ponies, sorry. Next year.
Then next year, all right. Plans in place for next year already, good.
Thank you,
Last
Director Maroney. And I've
Really the last item.
I've also asked our Director of Recreation to come up and give us a brief overview on the wonderful Independence Day celebration that we recently had.
I cut it down to 25 slides. I'm kidding. Mayor, Council, just a brief update on Independence Day and Fun Fest. First, I wanted to thank all the Independence Day Commission members, city staff, and people who came out to participate. We had beautiful weather, had a great turnout. To touch base on some numbers, we had 46 parade participants, which was 3 more entrants than last year. We most notably had our Grand Marshals of Bob Gershman and Elmar Furs for our business representative. We did have a much larger presence, obviously, from the Oak Park schools. We had representatives from every one of the schools in the district, which was an improvement from previous years. The Corvette Club obviously came out in force for the event. We did have a couple come back, and then we lost a couple because of the Friday date. So I'm sure that'll come up in future discussions. For the Fun Fest, we had 16 vendors, which was 3 less than previous years. Again, the Friday, not on the actual holiday, but we did have more games and inflatables, which kids did enjoy. Oakland County Parks, through a grant, programming grant, did provide our stage again, which does help us significantly with costs. Oak Park's own Shay Lewis obviously kicked off the festivities, and a big thanks to Saints of Soul, who is our band. We had plenty of compliments from community members on that. Despite the fact that youth assistants, we got a little bit late notice on the pancake breakfast, they were very pleased with turnout, so we were able to get that going on a couple days' notice and get that squared away. We have discussed a number of improvements for next year, but I believe it would be best to discuss those with the committee first and then get back to you after that. That will be at our September meeting. And we spend roughly $8,500 on the event. Most of that is for parade participation, for bands to participate in the parade. And that's it.
And there were toy ponies.
There were toy ponies at the.
Just wanted to clarify. Where's the Summerfest
And
planning
goats.
group?
Goats and
Need
llamas.
to take some lessons here. Thank you,
All
Director
right,
Hall.
thank you.
Madam
There was,
Mayor, members of council, that completes the city manager report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And if any of the members of the audience are still awake, we have called to the audience now.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Salem Bashi. I'm the landlord of property at 24230 Scotia. I got received a bill for the water, $847 for 3 months. The average bill for 3 months is about 150, 200. And I received the bill of 847 and something. I contact the water department, and they sent somebody to check the water system, and I got a report from them. They said there's no leak. He read the meter, but the guy, the friend of the tenant, he said there was some mains or it was black. I spent $200 and opened it, but the water doesn't affect on the meter because the water they was using it for 2 days is still run the meter, but there is no leak. And then they call another month. They called me. They told me there is some water coming from under washer. Next day I went and I connect that system and everything. And then we received the bill, $847. There's something wrong. Is the meter wrong or the reading is wrong? So I would like asking you to reduce the amount or to find the solution, because the average I live in since 1990, my bill never pay $120. But those the tenant go ahead with the $200, $250, but not $847. So please find a solution or reduce the amount or to replace the meter wherever is required. Thank you for your help.
Thank you for coming.
And you want the copy of the water?
Madam Mayor,
City Manager Tungate,
I'm going to give you
please.
my card. Can you contact me tomorrow or
Okay.
Wednesday, and I will personally look into your situation.
Okay, so what time want you calling?
I'm here 8 to 5, so whenever you,
Okay.
okay? And I will get a copy of that, so you don't have to provide a copy, but we'll look into it for you.
Oh, you want me, I will come and meet you if you want.
It's 24,340 Scotia?
24230 Scotia.
230.
Yeah, and here the bill is 800 or something. And the past due, I think about another 4 or 5 days. I don't wanna. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone?
Oh, no. You're not getting away that easy. No. I've been waiting. Joyce Bannon, 10611 Troy. Start off, there's a special council meeting earlier tonight. Notice, I was here at 12 o'clock, 12:30 today, and I did not see this. I would have been here had I known about the special meeting. It was not up there. I was in here to pay taxes, and I was there at both, because I picked up the flyer from Fatima Church here, and I picked up the flyer from over there. Did not see it. So I was not happy about that. Okay, well, I did not know it until I walked in here at 7. So that started that. The next thing is I have done some investigating. Ferndale, Royal Oak, and Berkeley do not allow liquor into their city parks. Those are for children. They're family-oriented. I know that we are doing this to bring ourselves up to be like Berkeley, Ferndale, or Royal Oak, but it's not happening if we continue to put alcohol or beer in our public parks where we have our children. I'm not a prude, I'm not against drinking, but there's a time and a place for everything, and I don't personally feel that alcohol in our public parks is a place for it. The next thing on the agenda is I sat last time listening at home. 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whenever it was approved to do a beer tent for Forgotten Harvest. One-time charity. Now we're coming up with another beer tent for another charity. Not knocking any of these charities. I'm not knocking any of these charities. But when do we put a stop to these charities with the beer tents in our public parks? We didn't have one in the last one with Forgotten Harvest?
No.
No?
This is the first one.
Okay, that was supposed to be for Forgotten Harvest, I thought.
They
No.
couldn't make that happen, and they just switched one for the other.
Okay, so it's
So
my
it's not two,
okay,
it's the
my
it's-
misunderstanding, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because I'm hearing two.
Sure.
And I was not
We-
happy with that.
We
Thank you.
welcome the fact that you are alert. Okay, that's it. Anybody else? Call to council. Mayor Pro Tem Levine.
Well,
Keep it short.
I'm not gonna only keep it short, I'm gonna keep it short. Now available for the Oak Park rollers, okay? We have shirts available every Tuesday night. We roll. We've been having, last time we had about 80 people show up, including a visitor from India who was visiting Oak Park, who rolled with us. So it was really a lot of fun, and I encourage everybody, come on out. It's a good way to see the neighborhoods, wave to the neighbors, and have a good, healthy exercise with good company. With that, on a serious note, I just want to say I'm kind of shaken. The past 2 days, 3 o'clock yesterday and today at 4:30, I was stopped in my car. There were 3 or 4 cars in front of me, and I look over and I found that there was a bicyclist on the ground, injured by a collision with a vehicle. One was in border of Huntington Woods and Berkeley. The other was in Royal Oak, just neighboring communities nearby. And I just can't emphasize enough how important it is for people to be aware that there are people that are riding bikes. If you have a bicycle rider near you, give them a 3-foot or 4-foot area, a buffer zone from your car. Be really careful. These both happen at intersections. They were both off of 11 Mile Road, one on Woodward and one on Washington. I just can't emphasize that enough. And for the bikers and people who run, just heightened awareness, and especially for the bikers, we have to follow the same rules. And I'm learning that myself, same rules of the road. That's all I have to say.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes, I just want to say it was a pleasure to attend the Oak Park Citywide Block Club. Yesterday, there were a number of different block clubs that were present. Some of them had T-shirts, and that's always cool to see. But there were also a number of residents that weren't parts of block clubs, but they came anyway, and they got to learn a little bit about, okay, there might be a block club that I can join. And so I would encourage you to contact Officer Benson, who's the community liaison through Public Safety, or if you have a question or need a connection, contact one of our the city council members, because we are absolutely encouraging block clubs. They serve so many purposes beyond just knowing your neighbors and knowing who are around you. They're a collective voice, and we get to know the issues a lot of times through block clubs. Actually, I think a block club member was here tonight from East Oak Park Block Club. Some of you that are members of block clubs, I had encouraged them to put me on their email list, because if you have concerns or questions or you need something, there's oftentimes a way that a city council member can help you, or their network may be able to help you. So often I invite that. And then also, just as I always do, I want to remind you that as it gets darker at night, even though darker is later, which is 9 o'clock around, to keep your lights on. That is part of public safety, helping them remember to keep things lit, and hopefully we can deter some of the things that may happen around the city, and just look out for each other that way. And have a good evening.
Thank you. Councilmember Burns.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. Have a wonderful evening, and please be mindful of the change in the weather. It's extremely hot and humid. It is not a good feeling to get dehydrated. So please take care of yourself and take care of our seniors in this hot weather. Thank you.
Councilmember Seligson, was the meeting long enough?
That sounded so good, Councilmember Burns, that I have nothing to add.
And I just have to say that no one is allowed out of the meeting without taking a birthday cupcake. All right. There being no further business to come before this council, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks for coming.